Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of the viewers from around the world. This is your host Vaibhav. In today's session of correlation and regression, we will be looking into the developments so far in the financial markets arrive um, to arrive at a inference which is going to give us an idea of the strength of the trend which has guided the financial instruments, various classes of financial instruments so far in the market, so that we can utilize this momentum to build trade positions which are likely to have higher probability of making money than losing money. As the US session is going to get underway shortly, we will be reviewing the US equity futures data, the price action so far, to get a good idea of how the things are likely to unfold once we get started for the North American trading session as well. So let us now head to the JForex 4, the newly released trading platform from the Dukascopy Bank SA. This is the Euro USD chart. Here I have plotted this range for 2 hours, 4 hours, and the average prices for last 1 hour and 2 hours. And I don't really think that I have to say the trend for the Euro USD has been bullish. It has seen the bullish momentum since the release of yesterday's US CPI data, in which it jumped quite sharply, around 2 pips at the same time, and then it has continued to build on to those gains. It has consolidated today's session with bias being clearly on the upside. Now, all we have to do is figure out which is the best suited instrument to trade against this weakness which we are seeing in the dollar. So we will be comparing the various currency crosses like JPP USD, Euro USD, AUD USD, NZD USD, the USD CHF, USD JPY, USD CAD, etc. to figure out the instrument which is having the highest strength, which is the strongest in terms of the trend, and which is the weakest in terms of the trend. Afterwards, we will also be taking a look into the equity markets, where firstly the focus will be on US equity indices, and also we will be taking a look, or we will be reviewing the price action for European equity indices too. So first, if we compare the price action data of the NZD USD, as I said, since the release of yesterday's US CPI, we have seen the dollar on the back foot with gains being seen across the board for various currencies which trade against the dollar, and also on the equity side and in the commodity space. The gains were there for the light crude and other commodities as well. I won't be going into the details of that. Firstly, we will be mainly concerned with the price action in the forex space. So here, earlier in the day, it did corrected somewhat from highs of around 0.6041 to towards 0.5985. So that was the lowest point touched in the day. Afterward, the rebound was quite fantastic, and we have right now the NZD USD at the highest since the release of US CPI. So if we change the time frame here, you can see that this consolidation has continued with bias being strictly on the upper side, on the bullish side. So now all we have to do is figure out which is the instrument to trade, and for that we need to get a relative analysis done so that we can establish a correlation, and then accordingly we can try to exploit this situation to our advantage. So for that, all in all, first we will have to compare when the highs and the lows were formed. For the NZD/USD, the low was formed at 3:55 GMT, and after that it reversed course and went on to make a 4-hourly high at 6:55 GMT. Now we have to see the timeline of these currencies, and also when there is not much of an difference between the timeline, then we also have to look into the crossovers of these average prices. Now, if we compare this Euro USD low, which was formed at 350 GMT, and after that the high was formed at 75 GMT. It is showing some lag. The NZD went on to form the high 10 minutes earlier. So, in that respect, the NZD was stronger, yeah, at the beginning. But after that, we saw some correction in NZD, which made it dip toward these 2 hourly lows, and from those levels it has now rebounded, but the gains have been rather muted. So all in all, I think earlier in the day, during the Asian trading session and even at the start of the European trading session, the NZD was on the stronger footing, but after that it went into a consolidation phase, and now we are observing some lag for price action in terms of its momentum, and we are seeing Euro USD leading. And for GBP, the low was made, and after that, again we saw it starting to consolidate and inch on the higher side. Here also, the lag is there, but still it is showing signs of continuation of the positive momentum. So for the time being, the Euro USD seems to be the strongest of all these three currencies. Coming to the third one, fourth one, AUD USD. In AUD also we saw this correction making it dip towards this two hourly low, and right now the gains are rather muted. It has not gained much after making this high around 11 GMT. Right now it is not far off from these prior highs. So in terms of magnitude, the Euro USD is appearing much stronger right now. So even the AUD on the is in the back of the queue in terms of the strength of the bullish momentum. So Euro USD seems to be the leading case, but first we have to compare these other currency crosses in which USD is the lead currency. So we have to invert the scales now, and for USD CAD also the momentum is on the bearish side with CAD gaining in strength, but it had gone to make a too early low, and after that it made a reversal. So it is interesting formation here. For USD CHF, let's see what's the development so far. USD CHF seems to be the stronger of all the currencies which we have seen so far, and it made a low around the same time the euro made, and after that it has continued to make lower lows and lower highs, and here this jump of almost 100 pips has now brought it close to the lows of 0.945. So it is interesting here in terms of its prior price formation also. We had the CHF leading, and even in terms of the magnitude, the CHF is leading. So I feel this CHF strength is much more than the euro. So if you have to go for any trade, the euro CHF seems to be a better idea. But not before we take a look on the developments in the USD JPY. The USD JPY made a low around a similar timeline, and after that it continued to lead. So earlier in the day during the European trading session in particular, the USD JPY was in lead, but now it seems to be lagging somewhat to the USD CHF. So currently the USD CHF is the best bet for continuing to short these short the USD, as you are expecting the dollar to remain on the back foot. The CHF, USD CHF seems to be the best bet to take a look. And if you expect this current phase to not last much longer, then you can have the other instruments like GBP USD or AUD USD, in which you are not observing much of an strong momentum. So there we can go for some consolidation trades and expect this range to hold, and as and when things start to turn bearish, we can then pounce on the opportunity on the opposite side of the trend. Let us see the developments in the equity space. So first we compare the price action data for three key equity indices of the United States. So here we have the Dow Jones in a consolidation phase after making a high of around 33,970. The Dow has continued to trade in a very narrow range. If we look at its price formation on the hourly chart, you will get a good idea of how things stand. So here it is not really going anywhere. It is simply consolidating in a narrow range of around 100 points. And it will be interesting to see how things shape up after the start of the US trading session. So far, the momentum is looking a bit bearish, not bearish, and I think I can't even really say it is bearish. It is more of an correction phase, so we just have to wait it out. And as and when there is a new high being made on the 4 hourly side, we will be in a better position to go for the initiation of the new trade. So here we have this crossover which was made at 15:20 GMT after this low being made. So this is something which we will have to now compare as this phase of correction is ongoing, and unless we have a new high being formed, we can't really say which one is leading and which one is lagging in this US equity space. So we have the S&P 500 also showing similar price trajectory with new crossover formation at 15:20 GMT. For the Dow, similar thing was observed for Nasdaq. Here also there is not much of a difference. We have these gains observed in most of these US equity indices, and it will be interesting now to first for any signs of upward momentum, again resuming, we have to wait for this new high being made, and only after that I think we will be in a position to judge for the strength of the momentum. So here we have to watch out this space, and right now the momentum is not that strongly on the bullish side. So if you want to go for any trade, first we need the confirmation of the change from consolidation to a momentum trend on the higher side. Otherwise, we can expect this ongoing situation to continue to remain that way. In that case, we will have to simply play by the range. We can short the Nasdaq or any other equity indices closer to its highs, the day's high will have to be kept as the stop loss, and we can continue to exploit this range with the support being coming into the play at around this prior swing low. So there is not much to read into this US equity futures data. So we have to now go to the European equity indices to see what's the development there. For European equity indices, the story is not really different. The EU50 stock index started with a gap up opening, and since then it has corrected somewhat with losses of around 1 percentage point from the day's high. But in terms of the magnitude, the losses are not really big compared to the gains it observed in yesterday's session after the release of CPI. So more or less, you can say it is shallow correction where the momentum is not really strong on the bearish side. So there is more of an example of the consolidation phase with bearish bias. I am expecting the similar price trajectory for the CAC 40, and here also the things are not that different. Let us see the DAX, German 40. The DAX is also having a similar trajectory. It did jump on the lower side around 100 points at 10 GMT, but since then it has consolidated with support coming into play around this immediate low of around 14,160. So that low has not really been breached. but as it has continued to make lower lows on this time frame of 4 hourly, I think this is not the instrument you would like to go long if you are expecting the resumption of the upward momentum. But if you want to trade it for the range with consolidation phase, then I think DAX can be preferred for any short sell trade as it is looking weaker compared to other equity indices. So that is likely to prove helpful for any trade to be taken closer to the day's high on the higher side, closer to the resistance. So here in the equity space, there is not much of a difference in between the strength of these three US equity indices, with Dow being a little bit stronger in its bullish momentum compared to the Nasdaq. So here the Nasdaq is lagging in terms of the bullish momentum, but it is leading in terms of the bearish momentum in this narrow range. So you have to determine how you want to play the range, and then accordingly, for any buy trade, the Dow should be preferred, and for any sell trade, the Nasdaq can be preferred. So that's my assessment looking at the price formation so far. Now, if we take a look into the commodity space with gold and light crude oil prices, the gold also has continued to gain with its gains being muted compared to what we are seeing in the currency space. But gains are gains, and the price rise in the gold is keeping the bullish momentum intact. And even now, as we are taking a look here, it has now gotten close to the prior high, the day's high established around 1766.90 USD per ounce, and it is likely to be breached in next couple of minutes. So it will be interesting, but here it is lagging in its bullish momentum against the dollar. So if you are trading against the dollar, then the gold is not really going to be a natural choice for any long trade. Rather, it is showing the lag, so you can expect it to go on decline much faster whenever there is turnaround in sentiments. In that case, the gold can be opted for the short sale opportunities. Now, on the crude oil space, crude oil is also in the bullish momentum with its gains being quite substantial. It had gained around 2 percentage point after the start of European trading session, and then those gains have been sustained, and even now as we are speaking, it is seeing renewed buying interest. So here the light crude oil is also in the bullish spectrum, and it is a trade which you can go for if you have to trade in the commodity space. Let us see the Brent developments in the Brent. So Brent crude is here. All right. The correction for the Brent happened at 14:15 GMT. So for light crude, we have to draw the conclusion based on this, and it is pretty much similar. The crossover also happened around the same time, so there is not much of a difference. So it will be interesting when these highs are formed. I think there is not much of a difference, not much of a lag between the price action of these two key crude oil futures. So because of that, you can take a trade in almost any of these two crude oil futures. But in terms of the magnitude, I think to some extent the light crude oil is leading, and right now it is inching much more sharply toward this 4 hourly high. So for that, the difference is indeed there, and as you can notice, the difference is not much, but it is there. So light crude oil is leading to the Brent in its price action. So there is this case to be made for any buy trend to be preferredly taken in the light crude oil compared to the Brent oil futures. So that's my take looking at the price action of these various financial instruments of different classes. We have seen how we can take the price action data into consideration to arrive at this correlation, and also looking at the actual prices, and then comparing it with the average prices, we get a good idea of how things stand, and what kind of move we can expect. Since there has been substantial deviation, we are seeing this consolidation phase ongoing, and average prices and the price action are now slowly starting to converge. So here I am not expecting any big move in the Euro USD in today's session. Of course, anything can happen, but my expectation is that these gains are likely to remain muted, and in course of time, maybe by tomorrow, we might have these average prices of last 12 and 24 hours catching up with this price action. So we can expect some shallow deep correction, or the continuation of the bullish momentum with not much of an strong momentum. So that will allow these average prices to then catch up with the actual price, currently prevailing price for the underlying instrument. So that's my take looking at this price action data. And if you have any query or any idea to share, you can write back to me in the feedback section, and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. For further coverage of the market developments, do check out the Dukascopy Analytics page. We are also available on the Facebook. You can reach out to us there too. Thank you all for joining in. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend ahead. See you on Monday. Goodbye.